Mr. Jason Reynolds, thank you very much for being here tonight with us.
Good evening, everybody. Ms. Rumpf, can you hear me okay?
I can't hear you very well. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good. In this world of online meetings, the first thing to check is if everyone can hear me, is if I'm not on mute. So I'm not on mute, you can hear me. It's
Yes.
a pleasure to speak to the Pine Hills Council this evening. For those who are new or not new, those who I haven't met, my name is Jason Reynolds. I'm the manager of the Neighborhood Services Division. I've been working with the Pine Hills community for all 11 years that I've been with Orange County. 11 years, 2 months, almost 2 months I've been with Orange County. I've been working in the Neighborhood Services Division, working directly with the Pine Hills community. Very recently, there were some organizational changes that impact the Neighborhood Services Division. The Code Enforcement Division, which was managed by Bob Spivey. You all know Bob. He's been with had been with the organization for decades. He retired after a long career with Orange County, retired in June. And during some of the discussions about what to do with code enforcement and how the division can be improved and build on, most importantly, build on the strengths, the decision was made to merge neighborhood services with the code enforcement division under the name Neighborhood Services, and code enforcement is going to be a section of the Neighborhood Services division. So under the division, you can think of this like an umbrella, Neighborhood Services. We're going to be calling it Code Compliance now, which I can go into in just a moment. There'll be a section, Code Compliance, Community Development and Outreach, which many of the grants that you all are familiar with are going to be those, our workshops, the community conference, so community development outreach, the planning, which planning is our economic development activities, our safe neighborhood program, the Pine Hills Neighborhood Improvement District. Obviously there are no CRAs in Pine Hills, but working with CRAs. And then we have administrative support, which is an internal division that really work to make sure the other 3 lines of the business of our division are operating effectively. So obviously you all are here because you want to hear about the code compliance section. So let me start with what I'm thinking about with the name. For a long time, the division, it was called code enforcement, when realistically the goal is to gain compliance. If someone's grass is too high, or they have an inoperable vehicle, or any of the litany of code enforcement violations, you don't want to get to the enforcement part, because the enforcement part means that it's cited, it's sat there until the person didn't do anything, then the reinspection sat there even longer, then it goes to the code board, they still didn't do anything about it, then the enforcement part are the fines, then the fines rack up. That could be weeks and weeks and months and months. The goal is compliance. The goal is the person is cited. They say, wow, I didn't realize that this was a violation of our codes, and I'm going to address this. So that's what we're going to be emphasizing is compliance. There are 3 ways to gain compliance, at least 3, but I'm focusing on the 3 ways to gain compliance: education, engagement, and enforcement. Education is key. There are a lot of people who genuinely don't know that codes exist and what they're doing are violations of the code. They just genuinely don't know. Pine Hills is a very diverse community. I love the Pine Hills community. Everyone knows I'm originally from Jamaica. Well, in Jamaica, we don't have some of the same codes of certain things. So if you move here and you're doing things the way you do them, you may genuinely not know. And that's obviously not isolated to Jamaica. I know Pine Hills is a very strong Asian community, very strong community from South America and Central America and throughout the Caribbean. And I've also met some European folks in Pine Hills. And not everybody has this regimented government system of zoning that we have here. So if you're doing the way things you've done in your 20, 30, 40 years in your home country and you come here, you don't know. So then what do we do? Education, making sure they comply. So it obviously, so that's in education. So engagement. Engagement is something that the code enforcement staff have been wanting to do, and it's been lacking in that division for a long time. When I started with the county 11 years ago, I used to attend community meetings, and there was a code enforcement staff there with me, with the sheriff's office. It was in tandem. Wherever you go, they were there in the community. They attended the meetings, they attended the community events, and that's not happened for several years for one reason or another. So that will change. They will be attending the community meetings. That's a little difficult now because meetings are meetings are like this, but in the future the plan is to have them attending the community meetings, having them form the relationship with the neighborhood leaders, and speaking to the residents. They don't, and this is the code inspectors have come to me over the last few weeks and said to me, Jason, we want to be back in the community. We see the value of being back in the community. We know that for us to be effective in our jobs, we need to be meeting residents of this community. They don't want to only see a resident of this community when they walk up to their house and tell them there's a citation. They want to see residents at community meetings and at community events. So they want to do that. And I think that will break down some of the barrier, for lack of a better word, barrier between those who are enforcing the codes in this community. So something else that's going to be emphasized is these codes are in place, but a lot of people don't realize why these codes are in place. These are public health and public safety related issues, by and large, most of them. So you see, okay, all right, my pool is green. I don't care, it's on my property, it's not bothering anybody. Well, no, that's an environmental issue. It's also a safety concern because it does happen where, unfortunately, children or people fall into the pool and they cannot be seen because the water is green. Animals get into those pools and they cannot be seen in the water. And then also the mosquitoes. It's in February, so we're not dealing with mosquitoes, but we know down in June, July, and August in Florida, we're dealing with those things. And we know mosquitoes, and you know that certain illnesses are passed on through mosquitoes. So you start to see how this, something as simple as a pool is a public health and public safety issue. And the why of why these codes are in place is often overlooked and not communicated. So that's something that we're working with everyone to emphasize the why, and making sure that we're going as far as making sure that when officers are talking to residents, it's their responsibility to say why. So this is a violation, why? Genuinely and generally, when residents of the community understand the why, their mindset is different. Their mindset is absolutely different. The vast majority of people, yes, there will always be the habitual offenders with the code. They don't care. They'll park 4 inoperable vehicles on their car. They'll build a shed without getting a permit. They'll start another addition on their house without getting a permit. They'll do all of those things, and they know better and just don't care. I'm not talking about them. That's when the enforcement comes in. The vast majority of residents, I genuinely believe, if explained to why this is important, they'll see the need to comply. And being in the community to talk to residents, such as in these kinds of settings, putting articles in the Midtown Press, is that?
Yes.
Is that accurate, right? Okay, good. Being proactive about articles in the Midtown Press, putting articles more in our magazine. We have a PIO in our division, and many of you get our newsletters once a week, and then you get another one a larger one, I think the third Friday of the month, third Monday of the month. Putting that content in there is very important. So people are starting to see that information very regularly. So that's a piece of the spiel. So I know I'm going to address a few things, and I'm going to make an ask of all of you and address a few things. I've been in this role for about 3 weeks now. And what I'm asking from the community, this Pine Hills community, is patience. As things start to change, in how the code inspectors go about doing things. I know that there are nuisance things going on right now. The signs, the snipe signs in the right of way. I know that's the issue. I cannot tell you how I feel about those signs because I don't want to take the conversation in that direction. We know right now with those signs when they get bad. Tax season and election season. We know they get particularly bad. They're at a baseline in managing before that. So Orange County, several years ago, some of you were involved. We had kind of like a focus group. It's probably going back 5, 6 years now. We had a focus group to discuss with residents of the community about these snipe signs. And from that discussion was Orange County hired a vendor who goes through the major corridors and picks up these signs. So that's Pine Hills, Silver Star, John Young, 50, those really major roads. They're not going into your neighborhood streets. They're going into the major roads and they pick up the signs. For the most part, they are fair. They're good about going to pick them up. They have their days, they go and they pick them up. They pick up the hundreds of them. But you also realize as quickly as, especially during this time of year and election season, as quickly as someone has gone through the community and picked up signs, there's another person also being paid to put down those signs. And that's where the frustrating part is. Just every now and then we're chasing our tails. Additionally, through the Pine Hills Neighborhood Improvement District, which is Sam Weekly, there is an on-call technician who goes through and picks up signs throughout the right-of-way, Mr. Rommel. He's there and he picks them up. But again, if Mr. Rommel goes through there on a Wednesday, believe that someone is there Thursday morning because someone is also being paid to put their signs. And so if we pick up 500 signs, that's the cost of doing business. There have been a number of discussions about how to go after the people who are putting down the signs. That gets very technical and very complicated because it's just a telephone number on a telephone number on a sign. So at one point they were doing robocalls to the numbers, and at one point they were calling them back. But realistically, they don't care. And so I see a question popping up here. I'll try and answer as they fit. Is why they cite the business. Is Orange County, when you get a code violation, it goes to a property, it goes to an address. So if and many times the person, so it goes through, so I own a business, I own Reynolds Tax Solutions, I say put signs. I pay someone to put down signs, and I probably tell them, put the sign, don't put the signs in the right of way, put them in other places, put them on private property and let them put the right of way. So if I put this sign, so if someone puts a sign down on on Pine Hills Road, or in Silver Star, right in a median, and someone's driving down and they get frustrated and they see it. So the sign is there. How do we cite the business? We don't know, for one, if the business owner puts it down. Two, people are not operating businesses out of brick and mortars anymore. People are operating businesses with a laptop, sitting in co-working spaces. So that is an evolving, continuous battle, is how to eliminate these snipe signs. And unfortunately, the way that we've seen some success is just picking them up. I'm very much a prevention is better than cure kind of person, but in this instance, it just seems like maintaining and picking them up seems to be the way of just cleaning it up as much as possible. And I know there might be a couple other questions. Ms. Rumphy, look like you're ready to come in, or I don't know if I addressed all of the things you wanted me to talk about.
Yes, there were some questions submitted. And if you here have questions, raise your hand. But let me just go through here some questions that were submitted online, Jason, earlier. I think you addressed the first one. It says, how will the merger benefit our community if there's no punitive measures? I think you addressed it.
I addressed that I spoke to you, Ms. Rumpf, but I want to address that again for the group, if you don't mind.
Please do.
So a few weeks ago, Steve Hudak with the Orlando Sentinel sat down and he spoke to me about the merger and the division. He wrote a very confusing sentence, which made it seem like the enforcement part was no longer going to be there. That is 100% false. Fake news, false, lies, alternative facts, whatever you want to call it. The enforcement component is absolutely still present. I called him, I spoke to him, I said, this sentence is confusing. You have people in Pine Hills who are coming down to my office and ready to, with pitchforks, saying, how dare you remove the enforcement component of this? And he was like, he's like, okay, you all know Steve, you probably worked with him in the past, and he corrected it online. And I want to make that unequivocally 100%, the enforcement component is there. Enforcement is a part of gaining compliance. We don't want to use that because I told you that's a lengthy process and the situation is fixed. The priority is fixing it and complying. So the enforcement component is still there.
Okay. Another question, then I'm going to go to the people that's here that was submitted online. Who take care of the cleanliness of the road, cutting the grass along Colonial between Pine Hills and Good Homes Road and along Kirkman Road? Are those state properties? Colonial?
Those are state highways. I would have to follow up with someone in our Public Works division, but really, those are state roads. You know, the FDOT, one of our favorite agencies to work with, are the ones who maintain those roads.
Okay. One other question, so let me get some clarity. Jason's, there are 3 different numbers that we can call. I'm just learning this out myself. There's a 311 number that I call to report a certain type of code violation. There is a Orange County Sheriff on the line, thank you. There's an Orange County Sheriff traffic enforcement that I call when there's a problem, I was told. And there is a Orange County Sheriff non-emergency number I call. And I'm saying this because I submitted a code enforcement violation about that 18-wheeler that's parked on the right-of-way on Powers Drive. I submit the picture to 311. So I did not hear back from 311. So I called 311 and gave them a reference number. And 311 says, oh, we don't handle those 18-wheelers on right-of-way. We refer that to the Orange County Sheriff non-emergency number. So I say, fine. Did you get a tracking number when you referred it to Orange County Sheriff non-emergency number? She said, no, I did not get a tracking number. I thought, okay. So how was I supposed to know that? So that's one thing. So the other thing is, so I called Orange County Sheriff non-emergency number and report the incident to them, and they took the information down. So in speaking with Orange County Sheriff non-emergency number, the young lady was nice enough to say, if there is a situation that's on the right-of-way where it is causing a safety problem, where it's obstructing traffic and could cause a safety problem, then you need to report that to the Orange County Sheriff Traffic Enforcement. So there's 3 different options, 3 different things. Maybe you and the sheriff could address that scenario that I went through with reporting the 18-wheeler.
Is this the 18-wheeler? Was it parked? I know there's an issue with them parking in plazas and parking in the right of way. And I need to get better acquainted with because there was some presentations at the board at the BCC recently to try and put some teeth to an ordinance for some enforcement mechanisms.
Yes.
I need to get a little bit, excuse me.
That's you.
Thank you. I need to get a little bit better acquainted with what that process was, and I will get that to you. And I see that information once I have a better understanding would need to go out in the Midtown press and would need to go out through the different mediums to make sure people are aware of it. But I'm not 100% sure about the process right now, but I do know that there was a presentation at the BCC very recently about addressing these 18-wheelers, realizing that this is a big problem across Orange County. Pine Hills feels it hard, but this is a big problem across Orange County right now.
Okay, so you come back. I'm gonna get Latanya and then Bettina. Nichols and then Bush.
Thank you. I had to
Yes.
take my phone off mute. And thank you, Mr. Reynolds, for being here this evening. I have a question related to the compliance and also accountability of the individuals, the snipe signs. What are other counties or other municipal areas, such as when you look down Hiawassee, you go north of Colonial Drive at Hiawassee, and you see those signs on every other corner, and there are dozens. When you go south of Colonial Drive, heading south towards Metro West and Windermere, you see minimal. So what are they doing differently that we can incorporate into our area? Same thing with North Orange Blossom Trail, South Orange Blossom Trail, Edgewater Drive. What is it that, and we're being very patient, I think, in this area. For myself, I've lived over here for almost 28 years and picking up trash, picking up litter, picking up those signs every other day. And yes, like you said, they're back, but how are we holding those individuals accountable? They have to be held accountable in some form or manner because it's the same companies. And I've called.
So when you call them, what happens?
When I've called,
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to share. When I've called, I do get a person on the line who indicates or states that they don't know or why those signs are out there, but the number goes to their company. And basically I let them know that I'm picking up the sign that this is something that's a code enforcement issue. And it doesn't matter, they still put them out there so we can educate all day long. However, if there's no accountability for those individuals, that can be done on the compliance side. And as residents, we're picking them up daily. And that's why I joined the community. That's why I joined Pine Hills Community Council, to be a part of the difference and reach more people with more support and resources from the county.
So in regards to the
Somebody's
sign,
dog is barking.
Yeah.
It's mine. I'm gonna go on mute
Okay.
while I listen.
Okay.
in regards to signs, so this is a personal opinion about the signs. People put them where they think their target audience is.
Right.
And that's just the unfortunate truth. They put them where their target audience is. So you can go through sections of Windermere and see signs. I see that. You can go through other areas and see them. But when you start to compare places like Windermere or Winter Park, those are very small municipalities. They have a few staff, and they can probably get through that entire area and start picking up signs quickly. The code inspectors for Orange County pick up signs when they see them and they're out there. The vendor picks up signs, and why it's being targeted in Pine Hills is because these companies think that what business they have, whether it's tax or I'm trying to think some of the other common ones I see on there, but the tax ones are the ones that come to mind. They think that their target audience is in Pine Hills or in that community. So that's where they're going to, and they know, many of them know that these signs are going to get picked up and they're going to get put in the trash. but it's their cost of doing business. So this, as I said, this is something that's been ongoing, and we have to continue. That's I would say, obviously staff working with the community, try to come up with better ways to reach these businesses. I told you in regards to citing them, how it becomes problematic because we don't know who put that sign there. And I'm still learning about different things right now, but the signs realize that I dislike them as much as you do. I see them in my community as well. I see them all over the place, and I want to continue to find solutions to address this.
Okay, I'm gonna go to, thank you, Jason. Wait, Ken, I'm going to go to, Bettina had her hand up. Bettina?
Can you hear me? Okay, I've got a
Yes.
couple of things in regarding the vehicles and the van and the dual wheel vehicles. This was the problem initiated and came to a head when we could not get the correct way to report because we had going like this. And when we talked with Commissioner Siplin about the issue with reporting, and then we started to actually canvass and discover the large numbers that were along the roadways. That's when the ordinance became a county issue, and they changed the ordinance. But in the process of changing the ordinance, Jason, they outlined the procedure for reporting. I feel the problem here is the staff hasn't been well versed, either in the sheriff's office or in Orange County. So when people call in, they still get the runaround. So once you clarify the process that the commission set up and internally educate the staff, then our problems will subside.
Okay,
Thank you, Bettina. That's a very, very good point.
I got a question too. I'm gonna bring this other slide back up. This is brought to attention too. Myra's not here, but if you see this picture here, Jason, when the county is mowing the lawn, this is on Powers Drive. So the county takes care of this right away and mowing the lawn. I call it lawn, the grass, the right of way. When that person is out, is any way possible that they can report what they see? Because when they're doing this, they're gonna mow around here and so they finish mowing. But if you see this here, is there any way possible, Jason, that county staff that is doing that, can they report this? What can they do to help us alleviate from seeing this? I know we could call it in, we could put in 311, but is there any way that the county could work with us when they see this while they're doing their job?
Maintaining the right of ways is something that's done in Public Works. Typically, I want to say that's the Roads and Drainage Division in regards to Public Works. I know that's another thing over time is so they're usually contracting with a vendor to mow the right of way.
Okay.
I know there've always been discussions about why are they mowing around the trash? Couldn't they pick it up? Couldn't they pick it up or whatever the case? Because this situation, so they dump it, and so you have this trash here. Say it's on right of way. Like you can't cite the person. You can't cite. It's public it's Orange County property. You can't cite them, or they bring it to the right of way. It just becomes it becomes kind of like, well, the solution is picking it up. And I can follow up with the Public Works, the staff person I'm thinking about in Public Works, to talk about when there's trash in the right of way. What is the course of action? Do you just mow around it? I mean, like, can they pick it up? What are the options?
Okay, good.
Different things like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Hold on, Miss Cloud, and Ken had his hand up first, and then I come to you. Thank you. Ken.
One of the things about code enforcement is that it goes before an enforcement board or a special magistrate. And the special magistrate. And one of the questions we have had is why can't we have everything go before the code enforcement board? And enlarge the board so we don't have to have a special magistrate. Because I think that may be the breakdown in the system.
I don't know if the special magistrate is, I'm going to choose my word very carefully. She is, I'm going to say it another way. The code enforcement board is more lenient than the special magistrate, Ken. I think you have it, the special magistrate, I've seen her in action, and she takes no BS from anybody. So I would say this, if anybody's ever watched that meeting, watch those meetings, and I don't remember her name right now. She's a brilliant attorney. She's been doing it for a few years. She does it on other municipalities. She understands the code. She understands the community, and the code and I will say is the code enforcement board is far more lenient than she is.
Okay, thank you. Miss Rosalind?
Hi, yes. In going back in reference to the mowing of the right of way, I have seen in some areas that as they mow the lawn, someone picks up the trash. I've seen some places where they do that. And here in Pine Hills, they not only mow around it, but they don't edge the grass sometimes. And I know personally, I have had to call roads and drainage. I had to call them several times because they have, they would cut the grass. It looks really sloppy. They will leave places in between, and then they will not cut around and edge the grass. So even though it's cut, it looks bad. So if they can pick up the trash in some areas, they can pick up the trash in Pine Hills too when they cut the grass. Because I've seen them cut the grass and put the trash in bags and leave the bags on the side of the road for them to pick up. Yes, I've seen that.
Okay.
I've seen some of those things too, Ms. Ross, and I think that your point is taken about can they just pick it up? That's a roads and drainage, which is a partner division for us here. And I mean, I think some of these questions I obviously can't answer. And I believe bringing someone from that division here to have a dialogue the way I'm doing it tonight about how they do things, why they do things. I know they contract a lot of their work, but I think that would be, Ms. Rumpf, that's a good speaker for March or April, is to bring someone from roads and drainage, because I don't want to start going down into their world. I'm still learning my new world now, so I definitely can't go into their new world.
I got a question, Jason, back to this presentation, this slide. This is this time to neighborhood services. How can we, or can we implement a sign like this? Is this sign something that neighborhood services could pick up as a project?
This is the one that says we love our community, keep it clean.
Yes.
I mean, is this just a freestanding sign in the right of way?
Yes.
I mean, it's certainly possible. Pine Hills recently put up some beautiful signs on their edge of their community, and I mean, I don't see why we'd have to. There's a process to put these signs in the right of way. Realize that, and there's a cost, but I mean, this isn't something insurmountable. It's doable. We just have to lay it out and how we're going to do it.
Okay. And I guess my question is, so who do we bring this project to?
The Safe Neighborhood Partnership.
Yes, Bertina's right. Talk to Allison about signs.
Okay. So Jason, did I hear you? Let me stop sharing this. Did I hear you clearly earlier to say that someone will be coming to our meetings on a regular basis.
Do
Our
you,
monthly
I mean,
meeting.
if you would like someone from your meeting there, just like, all I would ask is you have them give the update in the beginning, like the sheriff's office, and keep them in the meeting as early in the meeting as possible. And please, please keep it respectful. I know code enforcement issues they bring out that people are very passionate, and passionate residents are great residents, but the dialogue goes much better when everybody is staying respectful. Not so. Yeah. If you would like someone, and just Ms. Rum, send me an email. I'll connect you. But like I said, the main thing is please make sure they're in, because in the beginning of the meeting as much as possible, so they can give their update, answer questions, and go back to their functions.
So okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, because that was a good point there. So from the discussion that we had tonight, when could we expect to hear back from you with the question that we laid before you, that you can get back with us?
Which ones? I mean, so obviously snack signs is an ongoing issue. In regards to a code staff person, if you can call, if you don't mind calling me tomorrow so we can talk about it.
Okay.
The
And then
in
about
what? Sorry.
About what Bettina said, as far as
Oh,
knowing
the
which one to
truck.
call. Yes.
With Trump, yeah. I'll clarify. I have the staff person I'm going to call tomorrow to clarify. And perhaps, Bertina, if that can go in one of your magazines, or if that can go out in one of your new, in do the newsletter change, so people will know who to call, so they don't get passed around.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we did that the last two issues. We had something in there about that. We can do it again.
Okay. Nichols and Bettina, your hand is still up. Is this from the last time, or you have other questions?
I had just
I
one,
do
just a
have-
comment.
Okay.
I'll let Bertina go first.
Oh, I just wanted to comment on the debris, Jason. I know it's probably roads and drainage. I'm not sure who is responsible, but when you talk with them, you know how they have large item pickup, and that really helps us when people put things out the right of way. The truck comes by every so often and picks it up. Maybe on a quarterly basis or every couple months, if they could do the same thing with brush and debris, because it accumulates. People don't know again, and they just clean up their yards and they throw it there. You can send out little notices that they should be bundled, but unfortunately, not everybody does that. So to help remove the backlog, if we could get a service that would just every so often come by and just pick it up.
Okay, thank you, Bertina.
You know, our concern is like any other. Nichols, I'm sorry. Go ahead on.
No, I'm fine. I just want to thank Mr. Reynolds for entertaining my questions and comments tonight. I really do appreciate the work that's been done, and I'm one of those passionate neighbors, as most of us on here. My question relates to with the calls, the 311 calls, etc., and as well as a cleanup, neighborhood beautification person. I'm also interested in problem solving and finding resolutions as well. Is there a way to look at heat maps as to where the bottlenecks are, the problem areas for our area, and what types of cleanup initiatives or I guess litter problems that are taking place in those areas, such as what Madam Rump presented, and some of the others is like the trash and the four-wheelers. Are there bottlenecks or problem areas that we can, identify, have some data?
You mean do you mean, I suspect you and I need to have a conversation more in depth, we could talk, but
Like a
do you
heat map.
mean areas where things are, the proliferation, they're more dense, like for some reason, all of more violations happen here? Is that information available, you said?
Yes,
Yes.
it's basically similar to a heat map area where you have hot
Yes, that
spots.
information is available. Can we please talk tomorrow or sometime later this week more in depth? Because I don't want to turn this into a back and forth between you and I, but I do have
Absolutely.
questions. So if Ms. Rumpf or Bertina or Ms. Fatmi Hall, they all have my contact information.
Okay. Thank you,
Yes.
Jason. I mean, you can see that the people here on this line, they're passionate about Pine Hills, and you've been around for us for a minute, so you know that we're passionate about Pine Hills. For one thing, I do want to point out one thing I think Nichols brought up in about the Metro West area, which is different than the Pine Hills area. Metro West have what they call a master plan, which we don't have this in Pine Hills, where HOAs have their HOAs in each community, but each HOA fall upon a master plan that governs all of those HOAs in that Metro West area. So with that master plan, they're paying a cost to keep that area clean. So that's a master, I know Metro West has that master plan, and so does down Hunters Creek going down South OBT. They have what they call a master plan. So that's something that we don't have here. So that's why we're coming together as a community individually. And that's why we're trying to work with the HOAs in the community to work together as a team. And once we do this as a team, HOAs have a vested interest in this and get them to come on board and become a part of the council. So we help keep the area clean. But we know what's important. We know that blight, it leads to crime, leads to low property value. That's why we're fighting so hard to clean up the area and keep it clean. So we have some type of sign that say, hey, we love our community. They love their community. Let's help keep it clean. We used to have a billboard. It did it years ago, Spruce Up Pine Hills. So anyway, that's what we are. Thank you, Jason. Are there any more questions? Ms. Fatman Hall, your hand is up. Sandra? Okay.
No, ma'am, I don't have a question. Oh, no.
Ms. Rumpf, this is Maria. Just a quick question. I don't know if it was just the council that was supposed to be speaking, but I think that my dream would be.
You remember Maria?
Yes, I know.
Okay.
I'm just starting, but you had a very vital point, and the lady that spoke before, why is it that they mow around and leave the trash? And I know that all our HOAs here around me, they pick up the trash as they mow because the HOA is the one paying for it.
Right.
I think that it would be wonderful in the future to consider the businesses because they want their clientele to come to clean, safe places, and I'm wondering if they would be willing to pay a certain amount for that to happen, where all the trash is picked up. I'm going to say just very quickly, McDonald's, which is a brand new building right there between 50 and Paul Street. Every morning, they were paying one person to blow, to clean, and make it so beautiful. That stopped. And I'm wondering, why did it stop? And I'm just thinking instead, let's have all the businesses to get on board to see how we can go ahead and have that every single morning and pay our folks even that are not panhandling, because they are human beings, that I think it would be so wonderful to just pay them a minimum each day for them to have a little job, if that's what they would want.
Okay. Thank you, Maria. Again, thank you all for joining the council.
I have one other comment here.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a very good point. We have found, because we have so many people in Pine Hills, many people walk, pedestrians, many schools. Much of our debris and trash comes from around schools. where people are walking to and from, or from convenience stores where they're walking to and from, or fast food places. So we probably need to take a look at that when you're evaluating how we should move forward.
And things like, and we're gonna close this almost, it's 8 o'clock. Things like this, people, that you see with these businesses, you can take a picture of this and send this to 311. I have done this with businesses in my area, sent the pictures to 311. They went out there, enforced it. Now that particular business is keeping that area clean. Whatever it takes for them to, the cost of doing business, like they said, we can report stuff like this. And once they cite it 1 or 2 times, then they will keep their area clean. So thank you, Jason, for coming out. Thank you, members, for joining in. Thank you, everybody here, for joining Facebook Live. Thank you for having an interest in Pine Hills. I do love Pine Hills. I hope that you love the Pine Hills Community Council. This is what we do every first Tuesday of the month. We educate, we bring in the resources that you need. Become a part of the council. And again, go to our website, it's Pine Hills Community Council. And our website is pinehills.info. Someone put information. Thank you, Orange County Sheriff, for putting the traffic and parking compliance website in the chat. Thank you. And email us at info@pinehills.info. Become a part of the council. Sign up for some of these committees that we talk about. We talked about the different membership committee, the beautification committee, the code enforcement committee. We talked about the education committee. Sign up for some of these committees and help us bring Pine Hills in the area where everyone would enjoy living, working, and playing. Our communication, our marketing committee. My time is well spent. Thank you again for joining. Do we have an 1-minute announcement? Any 1-minute announcement? If you can do your announcement in 1 minute.
Yes.
Pastor Joey. Pastor Joey, yes,
Just
sir.
real quick, again, 2612 North Powers Drive tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We'll have 100 boxes of food, which is the milk, the cheese, the meat, produce, things of that nature. So if you need, we didn't do a lot of advertisement because 100 boxes go really quick. So if you know someone that, because we didn't do any advertisement, but there are specific people that we know that are coming. So if you know someone specifically that is in need of food, give them our address, 2612 North Powers Drive tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
Awesome. And to piggyback on Pastor Joey, on February 11th, Thursday, February 11th, we are all partnered up to start our food drives again at 6001 Silver Star Road. And we look forward to everyone spreading the word. The flyers will be out in a couple of days. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ken.
I want to remind you that our meeting on February 11th at 6:30 is open to all people, especially if you'd like to learn how to organize your subdivision or even your street. And you can call neighborhood services and get the information to get connected to WebEx.
Okay. Thank you, good people. Join the council. You have a good night. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.